Hey.
Hi, everyone. This is Rebecca from Rooster and Hen Resources. Welcome to our podcast called Side Door Conversations. Rooster and Hen Resources is a nonprofit that uses storytelling and art to create community connection through grief and loss. And today, I am so happy and honored to welcome our guest, Tina Thomas. Hi, Tina.
Hi.
How are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. I am so glad
Awesome.
that we get to chat like this.
Me
Just
too.
a little intro. I'm going to share about how we met, and then I'm going to have you tell our audience members a little brief bio about yourself.
All right. That's good.
Okay. So, Tina and I met at a conference, and it's a conference for, I think, maybe you'd call grief professionals. And I didn't know those things existed until the year before I met Tina. We go to the NACG, National Alliance for Children's Grief Symposium, every year. And my second year and third year, I gave a presentation and Tina was there. We became just so fun friends together at conference.
Hmm.
And we look forward to seeing each other all the time and come to learn that Tina works in the hospice area. And for those that know my book, Moving in Forever, it talks about hospice at home and my college roommate who died. So we connected on so many levels. But Tina, I want you to share about maybe your background, an intro to
Hmm.
you, your work, and if you have any other things to talk about how we met.
Yeah. Yeah. So another thing that we connected on is Chicago.
Yes.
That is where I started my hospice career. It's where I went to grad school and I lived there for 12 years and ended up moving to Virginia. But Chicago very much is a city that still has my heart. And so I think that first conference I attended, I just naturally gravitated towards the Chicago people. And I love those conferences because it's just a place where you don't have to explain what you do. Like everyone understands
Until you're on the
while you're
plane, right,
there.
Tina?
Yes, exactly. Yep. Or yeah, I was at a conference, a hospice conference last year, and just the Uber ride to the hotel was all about like the driver's grief and like all the people that he
Yes.
lost. And it's like, do I tell people what I do, or am I just like super vague? Like I'm a social worker.
And
Something that shuts down conversation. Yeah,
let's just say it invites conversation, right?
it
It
does. It
invites
does.
conversation and it creates safety. I think
Yes.
that's why Uber drivers talk to us. And
Yes.
then also our plane mates, right?
Yes.
So we might
Hmm.
not be traveling with colleagues all the time. We might be flying
Hmm.
solo, right? So we could be sitting next to anybody. And a lot of times at these conferences around the United States, there's like other conferences happening at the same hotel, right?
Yes.
So everyone's flying to this city for some sort of conference on a Tuesday. And they're like, oh, what conference are you going to? And then I had someone tell me, I'm going to the tech conference. How about you? You going to, I'm like at the same hotel. Oh, you are you did? And then I go, no, we're not going. No, I'm no. And then I'm just
No.
waiting. Are you ready? Are you
Yep.
ready for this? Oh yeah, which one are you going to? Like the leadership one? No. Which one? The symposium on children's grief?
Hmm.
And they're like,
Sad
oh,
kids.
oh, 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 oh,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
I see.
Hmm. Yes.
Wow. And it's usually the wow.
Yes. Hmm.
Uh, you seem pretty chipper.
How can you be happy and do that job?
I know, which I think like when when I talk about Rooster and Hen resources and we talk about
Yes.
side door conversations, it's really about that. Like it's not how can you be happy with that kind of job? It's how can you hold all the emotions that come with the job?
Yeah.
And side door conversations, we made the name side door because of our approach. Because sometimes the
Mhm.
front door seems scary, it's too direct. And a
It
side
does. Yeah.
door, right? A side door is like, I'm going to grandma's house. The light is always
Hmm.
on, there's food on the table, and I'm welcome anytime.
Yeah.
Because grief comes whenever it wants. And it
Hmm.
happens in everyday conversations, everyday moments when you least expect it, in an Uber ride, on a plane, folding laundry, going to
Yes.
the grocery store, all
Yep.
those things. And I feel like you and I also connect on how grief can show up long after someone
Hmm.
passes, someone dies, and it can also show up in different ways. And we both love using creative approaches and
Yes.
ideas to help just explore that, right? It's not
Yeah.
necessarily outcome driven. Some people, some folks on the plane, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so when do they get to healing? Are you there to heal them? And the answer is no.
Hmm.
I'm not there to fix or change, or like needs fixing. It becomes like
Yeah.
a part of you. So I would
Hmm.
love to hear how you use creative approaches in your work. I know you work in hospice now in
Hmm.
Virginia. So will you tell us a little bit about the creative approaches and the funness and the happy
Yes.
moments that can exist in your
Yes.
work?
Yeah. And I think, and just to your point, I think it's more about accessing your grief than it is about healing your grief, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in accessing our grief, we're also connecting to our person, which I think
Yeah.
is so important. And so, yeah, so I have worked in hospice for about 15 years now, first in Chicago, now in Winchester. Started out as a hospice social worker, and now I am the Children and Families Grief Support Coordinator at our grief center that's connected to our hospice, Blue Ridge Care in Virginia. And what's great about this job is it allows me to interact with the hospice families and any kiddo that's impacted, whether they're a patient or a daughter or a granddaughter or or a niece or a nephew, any child that's impacted by death, or a friend, any child that's impacted by death. I really get to interact with them, or at least provide some information to their adults. And then we are also community facing, which means that any
Mm.
kid that has experienced a loss can receive support from us at no cost. And that includes groups and camps, but it also includes individual support, which I am really proud of. So, yeah.
Now you said
Um,
children and families. So, I mean, my background is in education, right? So how
yes.
kids interact with you varies on all the
Mhm.
variables: how
Yes.
old they
Yes.
are, their
Hmm.
personality,
Yeah.
their temperament,
Yeah.
and the relationship with their
Yeah.
person,
Yeah,
right?
their relationship, where you're at. Are they in your office? Are you in their home?
Mhm.
Are you in their school? Like all of that matters too. Yeah.
So, what's the funnest way you've engaged kids? Whether you can tell us examples from, like, age 8 kids to like age 16 kids, whatever you
Yeah.
want to share about the fun ways to engage them. Because it's not a
I think
fun topic, right? But there are
no,
fun ways to
no, but
engage kids.
there are so many fun ways that we can connect. And way back when I was doing an internship at a children's grief center, I remember hearing that like the stories are sad, but the kids are fun, and being around kids is enjoyable and joyful. And
Oh,
I
okay.
just
Tina, say that again.
the stories are sad, but the kids are fun. The kids are joyful, right? And when you talk about children's grief, there are just some really hard stories, especially, especially here in Virginia. We're pretty close to West Virginia. And so, which just means that we're close to the opioid epidemic, which means that there are kids that we have worked with that have lost parents due to substance use. And so the stories can be really hard,
Mm.
but they can also be really fun. So I try to use lots of art, imagery. We play games, we do all sorts of stuff. On Monday, we were creating collages, and I just had a bunch of random pictures. And one of our kiddos picked up one of the, like a Ninja Turtle cutout, because his dad really loved Ninja Turtles. And just being able to engage on that piece with his person. And I just love the images that the kids chose. There was another kid that chose vegetables because her grandma really loved to eat vegetables. And so just being able to, and I'm not going to know that, right? So having that
No.
image available, and them to be able to choose. I'm a really big fan of those things. I try to have options for everything. I think it's a lot easier when you're planning a project to have everything that looks exactly the same. But I have a couple of advantages. Our hospice is connected to a bunch of thrift shops. So
Oh.
we have the gift of options. So one of the workshops that we do is with two main workshops that we do with our families. And one of them is like a mini memorial garden. So I
Mhm.
can choose off a whole bunch of different plates and containers to have the garden
Oh.
in. And then they can choose the decorations and like all of that. And every garden looks different. And it's really important for me that our kids get to choose and our parents get to choose what they get to include and what they don't get to include. Our another workshop that we do that's going to come up here in a couple of weeks. We call it our smash and build, which is where we break dishes from the thrift shop. They get to choose what they break. And not only do they get to choose what they break, but they get to choose what they put back together. And we create a mosaic from what's broken. Just a reminder that like the breaking can be scary, can be cathartic, can be all of those things, but then we can make something beautiful still with what's
Mm.
left. Yeah, so those are some fun things I do. I think the most fun thing that I do is I've created a group that uses Dungeons and Dragons as a grief intervention. So I have found a way to get paid for playing Dungeons and Dragons. And that has been my most fun thing, not just because I enjoy it, I really do, but also because, I don't know if you've ever met a teenager, but they don't really like sitting around and talking in a group is not their jam.
No.
We just when I
It's
was
like,
first, yep. When I was first doing teen groups, we had art interventions, we had a music therapist, we had all these things, but it was still mostly me talking and then staring at each other with a yes or a no or and so I was just like, I've got to get these kids playing games. And so we started with like cooperative games like Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert and things like that. And then where they each had a different part to play, and you play against the board essentially.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons is like that, but on a much grander scale. I
And you
suppose
can very detailed
story.
with the stories.
You can get so detailed, but it's also a way that kids can they have to talk to each other, right? To do things as simple as open a door or cross a bridge, but also to beat the monster or the big bad guy.
Hmm.
And so I think that is really the most fun thing that we do. We do it right now with our high schoolers and our young adults. And then hopefully next year we're going to bring it into middle schools and high schools.
That is amazing. That one, it's amazing that you brought D&D to grief, and
Yes.
two, that you get paid to do it.
It's so fun. It's so fun. And I will say, so we use a therapeutically applied approach. So the
Hmm.
idea is that the game is the therapy. So
Yes.
we start with some psychoeducation on grief and do a check-in, and then we play the game, and then we process what just
Hmm.
happened afterwards. So
Hmm.
it's a grief group with some traditional aspects, but like the majority of it is playing the game, and the kids get
Hmm.
to experience grief differently through playing the game without having to directly talk
Got
about
it.
their stories or their situations. And it's just I think that's amazing too, that kids can get so much out of it, like including connection, but also like that they're not alone without having to share their sad stories over and over again. Because this I've stolen from Nora McInerney, but he says we are more than our sad stories. And I really believe in that too. And really, all of D&D is a story that we tell together. And it's so important that our kids get to have ownership over that story. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
And Tina, I'm not an avid D&D player, but
Mhm.
I played it twice, and there's a story master, like there's a storyteller in it, right? And I was not that person, but it really felt like we're really walking together through the
Mhm.
story, which is also like so many analogies can be like brought
Yes.
out
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
grief support, or like even supporting someone that's not going through grief but going through a hard time, right? You walk
Yes.
alongside because you can't take away their pain.
Hmm.
You can't fix them, you can't make it go away. You don't want to dismiss what they're feeling, but you're really
Yeah.
walking alongside, sharing the story together, experiencing it together, and
Yes.
being loyal to the group and
Hmm.
committing to the story. And then, like you said, it isn't just free for all playing. It's not
Right.
board
Right.
game night. It's also
Hmm.
contained in a therapeutic setting, right?
Yeah.
With necessarily safety components.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a little different than what you may think of as regular D&D, although we play with the rules and we play D&D. But for example, in my games, no character dies ever unless they choose to, and then they get
Mm-hmm.
to tell me what that looks like. But that actually hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also very intentional about storylines and who the monsters are or who the monsters were and all of those things too when we're playing them. So yeah, so those are fun things that we get to do. And the NPCs, one of the things I learned early on with doing this group, we've been doing it for about 4 years now, is that like we would have like interns that would come in and play pseudo NPCs, help facilitate, but playing the game. And they remembered every person, every character that had been part of the game and had
Oh,
left. Right.
can
And
you share when you say NPCs?
yes, oh, sorry, non-playable characters. So the group is consisted of characters that play. And so a pseudo NPC is so another facilitator that sometimes like that kind of plays, but when they play, they're helping, they play specifically to help or to interact with the party that's playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
So as a therapeutic role, a therapeutic support.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those people will come and go, or at least in our early games they did. And I really remembered that I had to remember everyone, every NPC I introduced, created because they would remember. And I think that that's very indicative of kids that have experienced loss. So yeah, and I think as a therapist too, it's a really unique challenge in that
Mm-hmm.
you are the therapist for the characters that are playing and
Mm-hmm.
for the people that are playing the characters. You're a therapist for both sets.
Yes.
I think it's really fun as a therapist, and just a really cool challenge to be a part of.
Yeah, you get to hear the layers of the story because, well, not just even teenagers, right?
Mhm.
Kids and adults too.
Yes.
Not everyone's very open and
Hmm.
direct about sharing what happened.
Yeah.
And yes, we're more than our sad stories. And also, maybe we don't have practice telling our sad story, or
Right.
maybe our home culture tells us don't mention it anymore. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
there has to be another outlet, another
Right.
avenue to share the story. And then, however, the story comes out, it's up to the child. So I want
Right.
to
Right.
like in reading sometimes I use a lot of puppets
Hmm.
and then I have
Yes.
other kids pretend to be the puppet because
Hmm.
now it's not them saying anything.
Right. Right.
It's the
Exactly.
little bunny saying it,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you feel a little bit
Hmm.
less pressure. You lose that burden of that identity, like, oh no,
Hmm.
no, 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 it's not me, it's them. But you
Yes.
know that there's like a story behind the story, and
Yes.
then there's
Yep.
a story within the story.
Yes. Yeah. And it really helps let my kids create characters for them, but I let them choose the character that they're going to play.
Mm-hmm.
And so like one of our I have a participant right now that has a lot of social anxiety and then is not a
Mm-hmm.
very charismatic person, but chose to play a bard who has a lot of charisma.
Oh,
And so it helps them push because she was like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. I was like, oh, but like your character does. Your character
yes.
would be really into this. And so having them tap into what that would look, and it's just a really good avenue for them to explore not just like different character traits. They can choose someone that reminds them of them. They can choose someone that reminds them of their person. They could choose
Yes.
someone that's completely opposite. They can also experiment with different pronouns and like all of these things. It's just because I get they get to tell me their name, they get to tell me what they look like, they get to tell me what their pronouns are. None of that impacts like, you know, the character that I've created for them.
Yeah. So
Um,
I
so
can
yeah,
imagine it feels very safe to
that's the goal.
experiment,
Yeah. Hmm.
explore, and even ideate and create a world or a community where you wish were outside too. I guess I can try that. Maybe I can be a little bit
Right.
more, maybe I can be a little bit more
Hmm.
vocal. Like that wasn't
Yes.
that bad. Oh, that's what quiet people feel like. So
Yes.
I can see how that builds empathy as well as
Hmm.
connection. And then so many ideas from like facilitating that, right? Like even you
Yes.
creating the characters and then you telling the story and you're the storyteller. You're pretty much the narrator of the whole thing and the designer of the whole story. Which brings me to Tina, that
Yes.
I heard that you are writing. You
I am.
are
Yes.
you are wanting to publish a book, put
Hmm.
stories out there. Will you tell us, coming from an author to another author, what are you writing
Yes.
about? What is this story?
So I am really excited about it. I am writing about sibling loss.
Mm-hmm.
Due about 2 years ago in July,
Mm-hmm.
July of 2024, my sister died.
Mm-hmm.
She was 40 years old and she had special needs. And so to live to 40 was actually quite the feat. She really blew away every doctor's prediction of what her life would look like. But yeah, and when she died, um, gosh, it just, and I know this as a grief counselor. I knew it was going to change everything. And
Mm-hmm.
I found myself both being like the grief counselor, because that didn't stop, but being the bereaved.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I first described this is the loss of my life right now, is losing her,
Mm-hmm.
because she was my sister, but I was also primary caregiver, and I've been taking care of her almost my whole life. I was 3 years old when she was born, and I could understand her before anyone
Mm-hmm.
else could. I was the first person that knew what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I would use that to my advantage. So she would go to tell my mom that I was being mean to her or I'd done something, and mom would be like, "What is she saying?" And be like, "I don't know. I have no, I'm not going to
It's
do
me.
that."
Tattle on
So
myself.
yeah, no, not when I'm like 6. I'm not doing that. But
Tell us her
um,
name. Tell us her name.
so her name is Adela. So yep. And I love that we started this conversation just talking about our work and how much our job is not to fix it. Because one of the first things I wrote, may not be the beginning of the book, but the first thing I wrote when I started was, I'm not doing this to feel better. I'm doing this
Mm-hmm.
to tell her story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, the grief counselor in me knew that it might result in me feeling better. But at the time, what I had said was, the pain that I feel in losing her is the thing that makes the most sense in my life right now, is how much this hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want it to hurt any less than it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And and I know that I will figure out how to carry it, because I know that's what we
Mm-hmm.
do. That's what I help people do. That's what people have helped me do, is figuring out how to carry it. But in the moment when I started writing, I didn't want it to feel better
Mm-hmm.
or to get better.
I know what you're saying.
So the book is, it's really about me telling an Adela story, or story from our lives growing up, or our lives more recently, in like little vignettes, and then my response to myself, but my professional response.
Mm,
So I'm hoping in that there are some really great books about sibling loss out there, but there's just really not a lot.
no.
And I think too, there's a unique experience. The term is being a glass sibling. So being a sibling, which we come across in hospice, right? But a sibling of a child that is sick or that has special rights or special needs, and where the focus is on them.
Yeah.
And in growing up, like, I didn't mind being clear I didn't mind
Mm,
when you looked through me, you saw Adela.
mm,
And I actually, that's, I love that. I kind of want that now more than ever is for you to see her when you see
mm,
me in my work and in what I do. Um, so yeah, so it's been a really interesting process, and it has been one of the more helpful things that I've done is really just put my words down on paper and to let other people read it too. But I'm really excited about the possibility of there being another sibling book out there about sibling loss, but also just in hopes that like my stories may help other people and how they relate to their world after a significant loss.
mm-hmm. I I had this image in my head when you were sharing about your book and
Hmm.
how there's one storyline of Tina talking about Adela, right?
Yes,
As sisters, that sisterhood, which
yes,
sounds
yes.
very strong, very close, very
Hmm.
intimate, a very like a clear bond, clear bond.
Yes, yes,
And then in that, then the other storyline is you take off your other hat, right? You're wearing these
right.
two hats. You take off the
Hmm.
sister hat, and maybe you take off the caregiver hat too, right? And sometimes
Yes,
sister and caregiver have kind of those two hats have been kind of stuck together.
yes, they have.
Um,
Yep,
and you take off those stuck together hats, and then you put on this, oh, I'm a grief counselor now. How
yes,
will I look at this?
yes.
And I think that is so unique because while there is a gap, I think
Hmm.
a gap in storybooks, books for kids and adults about sibling loss, there's also a gap in being able to step back.
Right.
Like there are many firsthand accounts, narratives, memoirs that are very much that first storyline, right?
Yeah.
Remembering
Hmm.
and reflecting, but then not the same person looking at that story
Looking
themselves,
at it, responding
right?
to it. Yeah.
Right. But there are some that take, for lack of a better word, case studies, right? When they're trying to teach
Yes. Hmm.
others in grief therapy, grief counseling, take stories and go, well, as a professional, as a counselor hat, this is how I would look at this story. But
Yes.
when you're the same exact person, how do you take off these hats, Tina? I don't know. How do you do it? Is it easier because it's on paper and then you take a breath like after a couple of days? Well, let me read it as a case study. Like, how do you do that?
Yes, yes. Yeah, that is in fact where I'm at now. So I have the stories written
Mm,
and I've taken a decent break. And now I'm going to go back and rewrite them, or not rewrite them, reread them,
yeah.
and then respond to them. But one of the ways that allowed me to take off my hat is to really, like you said, this is a unique case study that I have just in my world, is that I really get to listen to my own advice
Mm,
and see if it holds up, right? The
mm.
things that I have been telling other people to do in their grief, is it really helpful? Or is this just an industry that's blowing smoke up our butts, right? Um, like,
The
and
theory. It's all theory.
yes, the theories and this is good and this,
Yeah.
and it's so interesting how we do things differently. The thing that I cannot stand is when someone writes, like someone has experienced grief,
Mm-hmm.
and then writes a memoir book and says, "This is how you do it," because I can't stand it. Um, and I really pull away from those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because no one gets to tell you what your grief looks like.
Yeah.
Only the person experiencing it. That is Megan Devine. That is, don't quote me on that. Quote Megan Devine on that. But she also talks about how it's not something that can be fixed, it's something that can be carried. And those are the things that
Mm-hmm.
really resonate with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that resonates with a lot of people, but maybe not everybody,
You're
right? And
right. Right.
works for people what works for some people may not work for other people. I remember talking to a mom who had lost a child, and we were sharing our personal stories.
Mm-hmm.
And she hates the tasks of mourning from Warden. I love them because I'm like, yeah, tell me what to do. And I think that there are a lot of grievers that like you need something to do, after Adela died, I went immediately to Denver, which is where she was. She had died in Denver. And I spent a week there with my family. We got through the funeral, we did all that. I was very present for my nephews and my brother and my dad and my mom. And then I got home and I just shut down. I like spent every day in bed for the most part. I would get up and eat again because I know it's important. And I would get up and go, all those things. But I didn't always change clothes. I did not leave the house for 3 days. But there was on that third day, I was like, okay, like, I gotta get out. And so the first thing I was going to do was just take the garbage out. And then I was going to take a walk around. But I opened the door and there was a bird that was
Oh,
close to it. And like really close to my door, which has never happened since or before. And my husband in the living room just goes, "Hi, Della." And I was like, she's greeting me here as I'm taking this step. Relate that back to it's accepting loss, right?
mm,
Boredom, but also finding a way to keep functioning. And in
yes.
that moment, it doesn't happen all at once, but for me, it was I needed to go outside. And not only
Mhm.
did I go outside, when I went outside, I took pictures of flowers and I texted them to people. So they knew that that I was taking this step and re-entering the world. I think a lot about that. So I want these stories and this book to be just yeah, one way that I have done it. And to and I tell this to my clients all the time. If it's helpful, use it. If it's not helpful, don't use it. Then that's not the
Leave
thing.
it. Leave it.
We don't need to
Hmm.
pick it up, right?
Hmm.
We have
Hmm.
already been given more than we can handle most of the time when we lose someone. And so we don't need to pick up something that is not helpful.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
mhm,
And I think like even when you were quoting Megan Devine,
mhm.
I think it's okay to quote you too, because she does research and she studies humanity, right? She
Yes,
studies
yes,
people, and you have your own human experience of,
yes.
well, that works for me. And no one can tell me how I do my grief. And
Right,
that is
right,
almost like empirical evidence within ourselves. And
right,
I was
exactly.
hearing you talk about the bird and how this other mom, like the garbage, the bird, and then like the timeline, right? The timeline
Hmm.
of you getting back out into the world took your timeline. And then for that other friend, and she was talking about her loss and like, I hate the task of mourning. And
Yeah,
well, because that's unique to her.
yeah,
And it could be that that wasn't the right time to
yeah.
do the stuff, right? Her timeline is different. And I think, especially in our modern society, we like prescriptions. Like we
Yes.
tend to like, it's not even a routine, right? Or a
Hmm.
protocol, but it's like, well, give me a prescription for that. Give me the fix for that. Give me the
Right,
hack. Give me the hack for
right.
that.
Hmm.
How do I revive my plant that has brown leaves? Oh, there's an app for that. Like you
Right,
just take a
right.
picture, it'll tell you
Hmm.
exactly what to do, and you follow it, and it almost pseudo guarantees a result of
Right.
positivity or
Hmm.
whatever it is, right? So we are kind of used to that. And I do wonder too, when even from like personal experience and talking to other families, when you have a loss that's very deep and significant, your whole world turns upside down.
It does.
You
Yeah.
don't even know left from right, one, two, three. You can't even count straight anymore, and things
Hmm.
don't make any sense. So I also wonder, like you said, pick up what's helpful and leave what's not. Well, what's helpful right now isn't a prescription because I can't even follow it. Like,
Right,
then I'll feel bad for not
right,
being able
right,
to follow just five things. I can't even do five
right.
things. So I can see, right? I can see how it's for some and how it's, not for
Hmm.
others. Like I can see
Right,
that too.
right,
And I think also it might not be for many cultures that don't want something very
right.
prescribed,
Yeah,
very
and I think
clinical.
yeah, and it's not the 5 stages. It's not telling you how, right? Or
Hmm. Hmm.
what that state what it needs to be. It's like accept the loss, accept
Hmm.
that this person has died, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you how you do that or
Right. Or
what
how
that
long it
means for
needs to
you
take
or
you.
how
Yep.
long it takes. There's no
Yes.
timeline. It's just that this is one of the things that you're going to be doing.
Hmm.
Or at least that's the way I see it. This is something I'm going to do, but I will figure out how I do it.
Yeah. You
My
tell us the
comfort in
five.
that.
Can you tell us the five?
Oh gosh. So now I might have to cheat now that I've been talking it up so much.
Well, I
Um,
also think as you're looking it
it's
up, I think also as friends and family,
oh,
supporting
right.
someone who's navigating grief, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That acceptance is is sort of like the thing first, like the first thing. Like if you
Right.
haven't accepted it and
Right.
you there is
Hmm.
no other, there is no second, third, fourth, fifth,
Hmm.
there's no 70-second task. It's like
Right. Right.
I'm having a lot of trouble even accepting that they're gone. Then
Yeah.
that is where you stay, right? Then
Yep.
that is where we stay,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And again, this task is going to look different for everyone, but the first
Yeah.
task is accepting the reality of the loss.
Hmm.
And for me, that meant like accepting what my bedroom looks like now, because my bedroom had it had her favorite quilt on it that my mother-in-law had made it from her old shirts from when she was a Special Olympic athlete and all these things. And I took that quilt after Adela died. So I had Adela's favorite quilts. I had some of her favorite dolls. I had some of her favorite clothes. And the only reason that made sense is that my room would look like that is if she had died. Because I
Yeah.
would never take those things from her if she
Hmm.
was alive, right? Those
Yes.
were her favorite
Yes.
things.
Yes.
And you want her to have her favorite things. But then I wanted some of those favorite things,
Yes.
right? And so for me, it was like, oh, the reason it is this way and the reason I feel so bad is because my sister died
Hmm.
and like
Hmm.
that. And so that made sense in my, and then in tandem with that task too is to process the pain of the grief, to really acknowledge it. And I think that processing the pain, going back to your point, it's like in our society, like we're really in those prescriptions. Those prescriptions are always to not feel the pain, right? Or
Or
to lessen it.
inconvenience or those things, right?
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah. And something that I do believe is from me, but I often tell my patients to think about if I came in with a cut and you said, "What did you do?" And I said, "Well, I cut my arm really bad, but I didn't mean to. So all I'm going to do is spray numbing spray on it so it doesn't hurt." Right. And if that is and it's okay to not want to hurt yourself. And it's okay to not want to feel the pain of it sometimes. Right. But
Hmm.
in denying the pain, I'm not fixing anything.
Hmm.
The wound can become infected, it will grow, like these things will happen. And so I have to acknowledge that it hurts before I can do anything about it, before I can process the pain, before I can figure out what helps me feel better or what helps me get to the next day. I will say those first couple of months, I was able to go back to work. I was able to function, but at all other times, I would wake up, go to work, go home, eat, and sleep. And at all of their times when I wasn't doing those things, I was rewatching Call the Midwife or I was playing Spider Solitaire on my phone. It was those two things that got me like pretty much to Christmas. Like, from July to Christmas, those two things were the things that helped me, right? But if I wasn't acknowledging the hurt and what I could handle or my capacity, I wouldn't have been able to use those things and to stop using those things when the time came. And then the third task is to adjust to a world without the deceased. And the fourth is to find that connection. And then the fifth, not on this Google search, but is continuing, that is allowing yourself to live a life full of joy without your person, is making meaning for yourself. We will never make meaning of the death, but our lives can continue to have meaning even without the physical presence of our loved one in it.
Hmm. Even with the hole, the
With the
void.
whole,
Hmm.
yeah. And the whole, again, the whole makes sense.
Because they mattered so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that,
Oh,
Tina.
yeah. Thank you.
I wanted to, one, make sure folks know how to find more information about you.
Hmm.
And this book sounds like it is going to be awesome. And then if they can't find you and follow you, they don't know the book is coming out whenever that it
Yes.
comes out.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I would love to follow along if you like talk about like the making of the book. So will you
Yes.
tell our listeners and our community how to, whether to stay in touch, how to follow along?
Yes. Yes. So I will be sharing parts of that journey on my Instagram, which is griefy underscore gamer girl. No, griefy underscore gamer underscore girl at Instagram.com. Yeah.
Yay. So your handle is griefy underscore gamer underscore girl.
Yes. Yes. Griefy gamer girl.
Griefy gamer girl. Thank you,
Yes.
Tina. We
Yeah.
are, so Rooster and Hen, we are all about like art and story. And so we can't leave this conversation without doing a
No.
little bit of art. We
Yeah.
shared a lot of story, and I am moved and I am inspired and I am motivated. Everything is
Hmm.
happening. And we got to do a little bit of art. And you know
Okay.
what? We try not to make art scary. It's
Right.
not
Right.
oil painting.
Right.
It is not realistic
Yeah.
portraiture. It is taking everyday items and using them to artistically express what's inside.
Yes.
And that's what we tend to say. So I want us to use some everyday items
Got
that
it.
we have. So post-its, you got post-its?
Got him.
Me too. And then a pair of scissors. Awesome. We have this like this. Are they kitty scissors? Mine are kitty scissors.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Glue stick. And something colorful like markers or colored pencils. Yes. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I want us, and then like a thing to glue it on. So I have like
Okay.
yellow construction paper. Notebook paper. Awesome. Okay.
Yep.
So I think like when we were talking, we like a lot of imagery
Hmm.
comes to my head because I'm a very visual person and a visual learner. But if we have to illustrate like how your heart is
Hmm.
at this moment, what shape might that take? What colors might be in there? You got all these colors on your post-its. Might you write something on there? And might you cut certain shapes out? Right? And then might you write something on there and then cut it out? Is it the shape of a heart, right? Or is it something else? So I'm going to give us a few minutes to use actually the same materials together and then
Hmm.
illustrate and express artistically where a heart is right now. Is that cool?
Yep.
All
On it.
right. On it. Okay. I'll give us a few minutes to do it. And as I say to my students and my families all the time at Family Art Club, does our art have to look the same, Tina?
No.
No. Does it have to look like the teachers?
No.
No.
It's
Whose art
actually
does it need to look like?
mine. And it's
That's
actually
right.
way more interesting if it looks different.
Mm-hmm. And who gets to decide how your art looks?
Only me.
There you go. I wonder if my editor is going to put in the music at this moment.
Oh, I wonder. Yeah. Little compilation time.
I don't know. Or maybe she wants some, what is it called? ASMR of like the.
Ooh.
Sometimes when we're creating, I put on some like background cafe music
Mhm.
and we have a
Yep.
playlist with like
Yeah.
very little words.
Yeah. It's like Bridgerton. So it's all instrumental, even though you may know the words.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
And it's
I,
familiar for the fans.
it is.
I've actually
You
never
might
watched an episode
you might recognize the song even if you've never watched the show. It's really fun. Yeah. I'm a big fan
of the show.
of the show. Yeah. I think it has some really good, especially this season, but throughout, no, sorry for anyone who's planning to watch Bridgerton and hasn't yet, but we're good, I don't know, 5 or 6 years out from
The end.
from the show or from where it began. Anyway, Mr. Bridgerton is dead. So the dad of the family. So there's really good grief things in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, there's a lot of, I don't want to call it griefy programming, but like a lot in
yeah,
our media, there's a lot of,
yeah,
accurate depictions of
yes,
death
yeah.
and loss
And then
now.
and yep, and some not so accurate, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they get it right. And I think Bridgerton I think mostly gets it right. A lot of their themes and characters that they use.
Mm-hmm. Which makes me want to watch it, at least in one episode. In our recent newsletter, we usually recommend books, but then this time we recommended a movie clip.
Ooh.
And we talked a little bit about parentification. And I
Mhm.
feel sometimes when you're also like a sibling and a caregiver at once,
Oh,
or you are
yep.
playing a bit of an adult role,
Oh, I could talk about that.
I'm
Yep.
sure. Because what do? We pulled out a clip from one of my favorite cartoons or animated films, Lilo and Stitch,
Yes, I love
because I
that.
just love Stitch. I just think
Yes.
he's the cutest, funnest, craziest thing.
Yes.
And it's the scene of the social worker.
Mhm.
Have you seen the movie? Like the
It
original?
is. Yes, yes.
Okay. Lilo had just kind of gotten in trouble at the
Mhm.
at the dance class with the friends, and then she wasn't there when Nani, her bigger sister, teenage sister, had to
Mhm.
pick her up.
Mhm.
And then but then it was time for the social worker to pay a home visit. And then Lilo had locked her sister out.
Mhm.
And then Mr. Bubbles, the big social worker guy, came
I love him. Yes.
and noticed like how a mess it was. Like things
Mhm.
like cooking on the stove, boiling over, dishes not done.
Yes.
Lilo, Lilo practicing voodoo magic on her enemies.
Yes.
And it's so funny, but
Yes.
also you see so much emotion
Right.
from all the characters of the little sibling who has no idea how hard it might be for the other
Mhm.
sibling, and the other sibling trying to give the little sibling just enough of a childhood when she's not even done with her own. And then
Right.
you have the outside quote unquote authority who's trying to look for signs of
Right.
incompetence or
Right.
instability to then
Right.
give the little child a
To
better
decide what's
environment.
best.
Right.
Right.
And then it's just so many things that aren't necessarily in conflict, but so
Right.
many perspectives that are like colliding. So I think including like in addition to Bridgerton, which is more recent, there's still like things of like my younger days. We watched it, but we definitely did not talk about.
Right.
And it wasn't a generation of talking about those
Mhm.
things, actually.
Yeah, and I love superheroes too, because so many of our superheroes have experienced loss. You look at Batman, you look at Spider-Man, you look at all
Superman,
of
the whole
those.
planet's gone.
Superman, the whole planet, not just his parents. There's so all those layers. Yep.
Yes. And then it's usually that propelling mechanism into their hero work, right?
Hmm.
Their
Hmm.
saving work. And then isn't that true? Like when you go to our conferences, symposiums, wherever we are, and we are kind
Yes.
of with our tribe, because you don't have to
Yes.
explain. But then if
Yes.
you are asked to explain or to give a little history, it comes back to a personal story.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
Like our
So,
why, our why.
yep.
Okay, I have one more step and I'm closing in.
I think
Not
I'm
not
about.
we have to be completely done. We can always
Yeah.
revisit artwork.
Mine is pretty simple
Mine's pretty
and
simple
not very pretty, but I am okay with that.
because who's the artist?
I'm the artist.
That's right. And artists can decide if they think it's pretty or don't think it's pretty, and whether
Yep.
pretty is the objective or not.
It's not.
I have one more thing to add. And then I think I got it. And in the art world, we call this process art, where there's not like a outcome. Like no one's teaching you like to be Monet here. And there's
No.
no, you have to paint this. And we're not all doing the same still life, but we are like experiencing the creative process together. Okay. Are you ready? We're going to reveal.
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right.
Should I share first? You want to share first? We share it together.
Let's share together.
1,
2.
3.
Oh, I love it.
Do you see?
Yes. Yes.
I see your, can you move your
I love your words. Yeah.
I see them shading. Oh, okay. So in our art club, I call it show and share. And so
Okay.
you can show, and that can be all you're sharing. You just want to show it. But if you want to share some words along with showing your art, you can. Which one would you like to do, Tina?
I can share.
Okay.
Share. After our conversation and in talking about Adela, I always think of sunlight because she was very bright to me and it just brought a lot of life or a lot of light to my life. And I think she still does. And I also, in our conversation too, just thinking about that's what I try to do is to put light just on the dark things and on the shadowy things. I really try to talk about things that a lot of people don't want to talk about or think about. I think that when light hits it, it just becomes a lot easier to deal with if we can shed some light on it. So that is my heart right now is sunlight in the dark places.
Oh, thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
My reaction was, oh, so things don't have to be hidden anymore.
Things don't have to be hidden anymore. We don't have to hide it.
Thank you. Okay, I'll share a little. And then we're going to take a picture with us holding it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so yellow is my mom's favorite color. It's bright and it's sunny. I think sometimes, like, I was thinking, like, growing up, I was only allowed to be happy. And then if I were sad or mad, then I need to quickly go back to happy. Like, first, like, we just can't linger there. We just weren't allowed to linger there. So then I chose a happy color, quote unquote happy color. Here is my heart. Like, it feels sometimes a bit disconnected, right? This is my post-it for all the things I have to do.
The to-do.
For the to-do. Like, my heart feels like sometimes heavy with all the things I need to do. Even for like the podcast. Did I do the lighting right? Did I click the mouse on time? Right? The to-dos. But then my heart in here is full of love, 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 love.
Yeah.
Right. And all that love can exist because, well, we're having a conversation. We're connecting on topics of love. And I love having conversation with you. And I love making friends. And I love being in community. So there's a lot of love in my heart. Same. But that doesn't mean it's the same as like how I grew up. Like, I can only be that, right? It can also hold like the brokenness.
All the things.
Yes.
Yeah,
all the little
I
broken
love that.
pieces. And then remember you told me about like the breaking of the plates and you rebuild. And sometimes our hearts break into pieces, like shattered, not just crack, it's broken. And then putting it back together in the shape of a heart takes a lot of time. And where do the pieces go now? It'll never be the same, but we can still have a heart, right? We can still live with passion. We can still live with
absolutely
and with
absolutely
purpose.
Yes,
and this is like graph paper. And then I drew like all these like very geometrical things, the orderly structure that my heart wants to let go of.
Yes. It reminds me of constellations too. I love it.
Thank you. Okay, now let's hold up our artwork and then I'm gonna try to take a screenshot if I can.
Okay.
You think I can? I don't know.
I think so.
I need fingers to do that. Hold on. Ready? Got it.
Yay.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Tina.
You so much. Oh, this was fun.
I had a lovely time just sharing for those of you who stayed on. I hope you do that art project too. If not with a friend, with a family, with a kiddo, or just for yourself. Take inventory of what your heart is feeling and what it looks like. You might be surprised at how powerful the message is. So stay tuned for more. We'll be publishing our episode, I don't know, soon.
Okay. All right.
Until then, I'll talk to you soon, Tina. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Yay!